Good evening. You're watching the news tonight, your daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell, and these are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. On the eve of the budget session, Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu says government will discuss every issue. Opposition insists no key bills will be passed in the first half of session. After over 9 days of protest by the Jat community, curfew partially lifted in Harana. Government announces committee to examine the demand for reservations will be set up soon. Encounter in Pamphur ends after 3 days. All 3 terrorists killed. The nation pays tributes to the security personnel martyred in the attack. Five JNU students accused of sedition say they will not resist arrest. Supreme Court refuses to widen scope of hearing beyond Patiala House Court attack. Cyclone Winston kills 20 people in Fiji. Rescue efforts intensified amid warnings that death toll could be more in remote villages. The top story this evening. On the eve of the budget session of Parliament, Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu assured the opposition that there will be discussions on every issue inside Parliament. Naidu urged the opposition to debate and discuss the issues without disrupting the session. However, the opposition has accused the government of setting the agenda for disruption and made it clear that no key bills will be passed in the first half of the session.
The government has urged the opposition to adopt a positive approach during the upcoming budget session of Parliament that begins Tuesday. After an all-party meet on Monday, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu said the government was ready to discuss the JNU row and the Rohit Vemula suicide case besides some other issues.
Everybody has assured that they will all cooperate in fully in functioning the House. Some of them said government should be willing to take up the important issues, burning issues. Some people use the word burning issues. And from the government side, I have assured them government is ready to discuss any issue, every issue.
The government is keen to push its legislative agenda, including the GST and real estate bills in this session. But the opposition said that only the bills with general consensus should be passed, making it clear that it will not allow passage of any key bill, including the GST, in the first half of the session.
जो भी कंट्रोवर्शियल बिल है वो इस वक्त नहीं लाने के लिए हमने कहा और जो सब सर्वसम्मति से जो भी बिल होगा वही हम पारित करेंगे और दूसरे बिल्स वो मार्च के बाद अप्रैल में जो लेना है तो सभी से कंसेंसस लेकर उसको पेश किया जाए.
The opposition also accused the government of setting the agenda for disruption and not wanting the parliament to function.
Unfortunately, the government has made it a habit to create conditions before every parliament session begins for potential disruption of that session. Creating that agenda is what the government is doing.
प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा है कि उनकी सरकार अस्थिर करने की कोशिश हो रही है. हम मानते हैं सरकार की बात छोड़िए, देश अस्थिर होने की बात हो रही है. उसके बारे में सदन में चर्चा होनी चाहिए.
The budget session of Parliament is expected to be very stormy. The first showdown between the Treasury and the opposition benches is expected in Rajya Sabha on the 24th of February, the first working day of the session. The real budget will be presented on the 25th and general budget will be presented on the 29th of February. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Congress Working Committee also met in the National Capital on Monday evening ahead of the crucial budget session starting tomorrow. The meeting was chaired by Congress President Sonia Gandhi at her official residence in Janpath. Top Congress leadership expressed concern over the situation prevailing in the country, especially on what they called an attack on the freedom of speech in universities.
जो हमारी संवैधानिक और प्रजातांत्रिक मर्यादाएं और परंपराएं हैं, उस पर हमला हो रहा है. ये सारा अभियान और प्रयास बीजेपी और सत्ताधारी दल से जुड़े सब संगठनों का केवल एक मुद्दे, एक लक्ष्य को लेकर है. और वो लक्ष्य, जैसा हमने बताया, एक तरफ समाज में ध्रुवीकरण करने का, बंटवारा लाने का।
Now, after facing a huge fund cut last year, educationists are hoping for some relief in the upcoming budget. Experts feel that after 2 years in power, the government should now address pending issues in education, including training and recruiting qualified teachers.
Universal education for students up to 18 years, more financial transparency in Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan are two key expectations from the upcoming union budget. Educationists are seeking increased budgetary allocation to meet Right to Education Act requirements.
They have to expand this RT from pre-primary to higher secondary education. और 18 साल तक के बच्चों को शिक्षा के दायरे में इनको लाना होगा और आरटी को ही एक्सपेंड करना, क्योंकि आरटी के अलावा और हमारे पास कोई जरिया नहीं है जिसमें विद इन टाइम फ्रेम हम अपने स्कूल्स को और इनरोलमेंट्स को और रिटेंशन को कायम कर सकें.
Other focus areas remain the poor teaching quality, access and innovation. Last year, the government brought in initiatives like the School Assessment Program and the Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya New Teachers Training Program to address shortage of quality teachers in both rural and urban areas. Despite them, the nation still needs 9.4 lakh new teachers.
We need to relook at how we are training our teachers, the teacher educator programs. So it starts from there. It starts from using innovative teaching learning material, perhaps, right? It also looks at how we should be interweaving our ICT resources sensibly, judiciously, and not because it's fashionable to do so or because schools have that facility. It comes down to how do we do our assessments. So it's a kind of a cyclic process.
Another worrying feature for the government is the poor educational outcomes. Only 48% of class 5 students can read a class 2 text, while 37% government primary schools do not comply with 30:1 pupil-teacher ratio. 60 lakh children are still out of school.
Building a school and enrolling children into school is not the end in itself. Ensuring that children get an education is the main objective. And I think on that, the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan failed miserably. And that's a fairly complicated narrative, as you know, because the Right to Education also was enacted in 2010 that had some very clear direction for schools on achieving a certain set of infrastructure norms. And as many, including myself, have critiqued the Right to Education, that it stopped at infrastructure norms and didn't actually focus on the big question of learning.
In the background of the emphasis on skill education and other initiatives, the low levels of learning are a challenge for both the state and the centre in arranging resources and monetary support. A bigger cause for concern is monitoring and maintaining accountability at every level. Anshu J. Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the Jat agitation has calmed down a notch with protesters removing blockades in some places. Curfew was also lifted from many places. The BJP government at the centre has promised to set up a committee to look into their demands. The committee is likely to give a report within a month.
It was the day of relative calm in Harana as the state limped back to normal after days of protests by people of the Jat community. Curfew was gradually lifted and protesters started to lift blockades after an announcement from the BJP that a committee to examine the quota demand has been set up.
स्थिति है पूरी तरह से नियंत्रित है और किसी भी तरह का कोई वो नहीं है. दहशत के माहौल में भी लोगों को एश्योरेंस दे दिया था कि रहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि अब हम कानून व्यवस्था को बिगड़ने नहीं देंगे.
सिचुएशन बिल्कुल पीसफुल है. सभी रोड्स खुल चुके हैं और ट्रैफिक आ जा रहा है. केवल मामूली सा इधर बेरी साइड में थोड़ा है और वो अभी घंटा 2 घंटे में खुल जाएगा. जो फोर्सेस की बात है वो हमारे पास पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस, आर्मी, IRB और डिस्ट्रिक्ट पुलिस ये सभी लगी हुई हैं और हर तरह से शांति बनाई हुई है.
However, the protesters continue to block some roads, including the arterial Delhi-Ambala highway and others in Rohtak, Hisar and Bhiwani districts. They are demanding a written assurance from the government before they give up the protests. Road traffic on various national and state highways from Hisar to various destinations remains suspended. Railway traffic is also severely affected.
अभी नॉर्दर्न रेलवे के जो 2 इम्पोर्टेंट रूट हैं, जो दिल्ली होकर पानीपत और अंबाला होकर पंजाब को जम्मू को जाता है, वो बंद है. और जो एजिटेशन है SPR पे अभी भी चल रहा है हमारा, जो 15 तारीख से शुरू हुआ था. बॉम्बे का रूट हमारा मथुरा तक खुल गया है, लेकिन मथुरा से आगे जो दूसरा जोन है NWR उसमें एजिटेशन चल रहा है तो वो रूट अफेक्टेड है.
A final decision on the details of the proposed bill will be taken only after the Venkaiah Naidu-led committee gives its report. The report is likely to come within a month.
सेंट्रल में ये मामला भारत सरकार के वरिष्ठ मंत्री वेंकैया नायडू की अध्यक्षता में एक कमेटी बन रही है और हम विधेयक उसी के हिसाब से उसी निर्देशन में हम लेके आएंगे.
At least 16 people have died in the agitation that started last week. Public property worth crores has also been destroyed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Delhi government is expecting to restore 25% of the water supply disrupted during the agitation. This was after the army secured the Munnar Canal. Schools and government offices were shut today over fears of a severe crisis as protests hit operations at the canal. The army took control around 4 a.m. after removing protesters squatting at the site. Chief Minister Arun Kejriwal had announced that all schools will be shut on Monday. West Delhi was the worst affected. The Supreme Court also rebuked the government for coming to the court instead of talking to Haryana to resolve the crisis. The Supreme Court also sought a status report from the Haryana government.
72 घंटे से बंद पड़ा हुआ था प्लांट. इसको अभी हम लोगों ने चालू किया है. 25% की क्षमता पे ये प्लांट शुरू हुआ है और अब कुछ घंटों के बाद 50% पे भी जाएगा. इसके बाद चंद्रावल का प्लांट भी हम लोग शुरू करने वाले हैं. ओखला का प्लांट भी हम लोग शुरू करेंगे. अभी हरियाणा ने जिस पानी का वादा किया था 400 क्यूसेक का, वो नहीं आया है यहाँ पर. अगर वो भी आ जाता है तो नांगलोई का प्लांट भी रात को किसी समय शुरू कर सकते हैं. थोड़ी सी राहत जरूर दिल्ली वालों को मिलेगी.
Now, the operation to flush out militants in Pamphur in Jammu and Kashmir ended today evening with the 3 militants being killed. 5 security personnel and a civilian also lost their lives in the operation. Clearing and sanitation operations are on, with the army suspecting terror outfit Lashkar-e-Toiba behind the attack.
A 48-hour gun battle ended in the Pamphur area of Pulwama on Monday. The operation claimed the lives of 3 terrorists, 2 army captains, a commando, 2 CRPF personnel and a civilian. The army said the Lashkar-e-Toiba was behind the strike.
ऑपरेशन अभी जो है उसमें 3 मिलिटेंट को मार दिया गया है और उनके साथ जो है उनके हथियार और काफी मात्रा में जो है वॉरलाइक स्टोर वो रिकवर हुआ है. और अभी जो बिल्डिंग को पूरा सिक्योर करने का और सैनिटाइज करने का वो प्रोसेस अभी चल रहा है.
Mopping up operations are on, with security personnel sanitizing the Entrepreneurship Development Institute campus spread over 3 buildings. Many civilians were trapped inside the building, who were all successfully evacuated on Saturday.
Large number of civilians at that point of time in that building. So immediately our focus was to evacuate the civilians and that they should not suffer any casualty. 120 odd civilians were evacuated in these bulletproof vehicles.
The terrorists were holed up inside a multi-story complex on the Srinagar-Jammu National Highway. The security forces managed to confine the terrorists in the machine room of the building. It was the deadliest suicide attack near Srinagar in 6 years. The encounter started after terrorists attacked a CRPF bus in Pamphur. They killed 2 Jawans and injured 11 before hiding inside the building. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, all 5 of the Jawaharlal Nehru University students facing sedition charges returned to campus on Sunday. They said that they will not resist arrest.
Facing sedition charges, the 5 Jawaharlal Nehru University students say they will not resist arrest. Lookout notices had been issued against students Umar Khalid, Anand Prakash Narayan, Ashutosh Kumar, Rama Naga and Anirban Bhattacharya on Saturday. All of them are alleged to have raised anti-India slogans at an event to mark the 3rd anniversary of Parliament attack convict Afzal Guru's execution on 9th of February.
एक तरह का मैंने टेरर क्रिएट किया गया था, एक तरह का विचेंटिंग हो रहा था. हम लोग की बहुत सारे थ्रेट को लाए, तो हम लोग को एक एडवाइस मिला कि आप लोग को एक सेफ जगह में अभी होना पड़ेगा, इसलिए हम लोग जेनू के आसपास थे, लेकिन हमेशा से यही कोशिश कर रहे थे.
अब आप क्या करेंगे, सरेंडर करेंगे या क्या करेंगे? अब आप
वही मैं बोल रहा था कि हम लोग हर एक टाइम कोशिश कर रहे थे कि जो भी प्रक्रिया होता है, जो जुडिशियल मैंने प्रोसेस होता है, उसमें हम लोग कोऑपरेट करेंगे. पुलिस को बुलाना या फिर ना बुलाना वो जेनू के वीसी को डिसीजन लेना है.
The students also rejected charges that they or any other JNU student raised anti-India slogans at the event. The students also alleged attempts to target some students and associate them with terrorism. even as they called for a stronger stand on the part of the Vice Chancellor Jagdish Kumar.
हमारा एक सीधे ये है कि वाइस चांसलर जादवपुर वाइस चांसलर की तरह एक स्टैंड ले, और ये जब ये साबित हो चुका है कि जिस वीडियो पर ये लोग इतना उछल रहे थे वो वीडियो ही फेक है, तो हमारे ऊपर सारे खारिज किए जाए सारे केसेस.
Police teams have been positioned outside JNU campus and told to wait for the students to surrender themselves.
अगर उनको पुलिस ढूंढ रही है, अगर पुलिस को उनकी आवश्यकता है, तो उन्हें जो है पुलिस की इन्वेस्टिगेशन ज्वाइन करनी चाहिए. अगर वो निर्दोष हैं, अपनी निर्दोषी का उन्हें साक्ष्य पेश करना चाहिए.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court made it clear on Monday that it will confine its hearing to the violent incident in which journalists and JNU students and teachers were attacked at the Patiala court. On 19th of February, it transferred the bail petition hearing of JNU Students' Union President Kanhaiya Kumar to the Delhi High Court. This was in response to the Bar Council of India that sought the court's response as to whether it should proceed with an inquiry against the lawyers. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in his Lok Sabha constituency, Varanasi, today. He attended the centenary convocation of the Banaras Hindu University and also visited the Sant Ravidas temple in the city to offer prayers on the 639th birth anniversary of the saint.
न सिर्फ हिंदुस्तान, दुनिया देखे कि भारत की धरती पर कभी सदियों पहले हम जिस नालंदा तक्षशिला बल भी उसका गर्व करते थे, आने वाले दिनों में हम BHU का भी हिंदुस्तानी के नाते गर्व करें.
Addressing the 100th convocation ceremony of the Banaras Hindu University, Prime Minister Narendra Modi underscored the importance of keeping the student inside us alive always.
हमें अगर जिंदगी में सफलता पानी है, हमें अगर जिंदगी में बदलते हैं युग के साथ अपने आप को समकक्ष बनाए रखना है, तो उसकी पहली शर्त होती है हमारा भीतर का जो विद्यार्थी है वो कभी मुरझा नहीं जाना चाहिए, वो कभी मरना नहीं चाहिए.
Praising the university as one of the finest in India, Modi refused to accept the honorary doctorate degree that was proposed to be conferred on him.
मैं मानता हूं कि मैं जितना इन चीज़ों से दूर रख सकूं अपने आप को दूर रखना चाहिए, मेरी कोशिश है. लेकिन फिर भी मैं कुलाधिपति, कुलपति और यूनिवर्सिटी का आभारी हूं कि आपने मुझे इस काम के लिए पसंद किया, स्मरण किया. लेकिन आप बुरा मत मानना, मैंने इनकार किया है, क्योंकि ये इतना बड़ी इंस्टीट्यूट है, वहाँ आना वही मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ा गर्व है. इससे और गर्व की.
Earlier, Modi visited the Ravidas temple in the city on the occasion of the birth anniversary celebrations of the 15th century Dalit poet. This was Modi's 6th visit to his Lok Sabha constituency since he took over as Prime Minister in May 2014. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for us to take a short break. There's lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
NDA government's third budget. Will it be a path-breaking one? Will it fuel the government's development thrust? Watch the brightest minds dissect budget proposals. 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. on February 29th on Rajya Sabha television. That clock ticked through the night. So much happened as you slept. So much you missed.
Wake up to a complete roundup of news from India and abroad. Politics, strategy, business, sports. Keen analysis to kickstart your day. Watch Breakfast News weekdays at 8 a.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Some international news now, and tourists began fleeing cyclone-ravaged Fiji on Monday, and aid efforts have intensified, with officials warning it could rise further when communications with remote villages will be restored. At least 20 people are now reported dead after a powerful storm tore through the Pacific island nation on Saturday.
Fiji started a massive cleanup operation in the wake of the worst ever cyclone in the South Pacific island nation. Local authorities said Cyclone Winston killed at least 20 people so far.
Homes have been destroyed, many low-lying areas have flooded, and many people have been left stunned and confused about what to do. Particular emphasis will be placed on reconnecting our eastern division to our national grid so we can urgently assess and address the damage in our maritime regions.
Cyclone Winston flattened scores of houses, crippled infrastructure and forced terrified residents into evacuation centres. Most of the deaths were along the western coast and caused by flying debris and drowning.
Power lines have gone down all over the country, and roofing iron, glass, live electric wires and other hazardous materials pose serious threats to public safety. We are working hard to make your streets and communities secure once again, but that will take time.
Aid agencies are warning of a widespread health crisis, particularly in low-lying areas where thousands live in tin shacks.
I would like to ask the government for help, for assistance as soon as possible.
A storm-induced curfew was lifted early on Monday. Australia and New Zealand authorised release of emergency supplies and sent planes to help assess the damage.
I have been in touch with my counterpart, Foreign Minister Inoki Kububola, and I have offered Australia's support, and we have in place pre-positioned supplies in Suva that are available.
International tourists caught up in the disaster began leaving on Monday. Fiji's economy relies on tourism, and the island chain is a major destination for Australians and New Zealanders. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In the United States, a man from Michigan who worked as an Uber driver was arrested on Sunday for the fatal shooting of 6 people in the Kalamazoo area. The police report said that the accused, Jason Dalton, may have driven customers of the car-hailing service on the night of the rampage. Prosecutors allege that he opened fire at random in parking lots outside an apartment building. 2 other people were injured, including a teenage girl who was initially thought to have died. The carnage was the latest in a series of mass shootings that have elevated gun control as a campaign issue in the November U.S. presidential elections.
He has no criminal history that we know of, no incidents, nothing in his background that we know of, or anything that we know about him that would lead us to believe he was capable of this type of behavior.
Time now to take a look at other international news now in Global Buzz. London Mayor Boris Johnson will join the campaign to encourage Britain to leave the European Union. He called Brexit a way of securing an entirely new relationship with Brussels based around on the single market. The move posed a direct challenge to Prime Minister David Cameron, who's launched a major push to keep his country within the 28-nation bloc. A baby at the centre of an asylum row in Australia was released from hospital into community detention. 1-year-old Asha is the daughter of Nepalese asylum seekers. She was brought to Brisbane with burns last month, prompting a standoff with doctors and a week of rallies. Australia sends asylum seekers to camps in Papua New Guinea and Nauru while their refugee applications are processed. ISIS claimed the gruesome killing of a Hindu head priest in Bangladesh. The priest was stabbed to death on Sunday. It was the first attack by the dreaded terror group against a Hindu in similar assaults on religious minorities. The claim, however, could not be independently verified. The report was published by a US-based private site intelligence group. An Indian origin Sikh officer was appointed Kuala Lumpur's Commissioner of Police. It's the highest police rank achieved by a Sikh in Malaysia. Amar Singh was Deputy Director of CID when his new appointment was announced last week. Time now for all the sports action and Sports Beat. Mahendra Singh Dhoni will be a doubtful starter against Bangladesh in the Asia Cup T20 opener after the Indian skipper suffered a muscle spasm in a training session. The extent of the injury is not yet known, but the BCCI has named wicketkeeper batsman Parthiv Patel as cover for the Indian captain. South Africa defeated England by 9 wickets in the second 2020 international to win the series 2-0. A late batting collapse saw England set a target of 172 in their 20 overs. However, the Proteas needed only 14.4 overs to reach the target, with AB de Villiers making 71 in just 29 balls. England had won the 4-match Test series 2-1, but lost both the one-day and the T20 series. Uruguay's Pablo Cuevas won his fourth career ATP title after defeating Argentina's Guido Pella in the Rio Open final. The Uruguayan defeated Rafael Nadal in the semis and won the summit clash 6-4, 6-7, 6-4. Cuevas had to miss 2 seasons from 2011 to 13 due to injury, but has won back-to-back titles at the Swedish Open, Croatian Open and the Brazilian Open. Cristiano Ronaldo missed a penalty as Real Madrid dropped points with a 1-1 draw against Malaga. Ronaldo put Real ahead with a header in the 33rd minute, but he was denied a second 3 minutes later when his penalty was saved. Malaga scored an equalizer in the 66th minute. The draw allowed Barcelona to maintain their 9-point lead at the top of La Liga. Chelsea thrashed a remarkably inexperienced Manchester City 5-1 in the FA Cup 5th round. Diego Costa put Chelsea ahead, but David Fofana equalised for the visitors. However, second-half goals from William, Gary Cahill, Hazard and Bertrand Traore handed City a third successive defeat. Well, that's the news tonight. Good night.